would get way more out of them, not way less. So why are we getting the same amount that Obama got, and he didn't have to bomb them for it?
To outrun the reason the deal was torn up in the first place. It's because of inherent jealousy of Barack Obama, says the president is insecure, and he did something that actually moved all of this.
This is about their wallets and what they pay at the pump, and we have no tolerance for it.
But why did you launch this war?
patriotic initiative.
Well, viewer, they are getting a lot of money. They are getting billions and billions of dollars right now, according to this MOU, and they could.
Welcome back to the Progressive Brief. Today, we're breaking down the growing controversy surrounding Trump's Iran agreement. After military strikes, American casualties, and billions of dollars spent, critics are asking one explosive question. Did the United States actually secure a better deal? Or did it fight a costly war, only to return to terms that were already available years ago? We'll examine the most heated moments from this debate, explain what sanctions relief could mean for Iran, and expose the contradictions involving oil, nuclear infrastructure, and the Strait of Hormuz. Stay with me until the end, because the final contradiction could completely change how you see this agreement.
Republicans criticized President Obama's nuclear deal, claiming it gave billions in cash to Iran. It actually was their own assets that were unfrozen. But Trump today said that he has lifted sanctions on the sale of Iranian oil for the next 60 days. And for the first time in decades, the United States is allowing oil to be imported into this country.
I don't know if it's a breakthrough. I think the reason why it's being framed that way is obviously political. They're looking for a win in front of the American public who've been not convinced that this was the right thing to do. I think some of this is just simply premature, both coming from J.D. Vance, but also critics of this. We don't actually know what the plan is. We don't know what this deal is going to look like in 60 days. I hope that it's something different than what we've had in the past. I am amongst the conservative critics of the MOU, but I'm also understanding that that's all it is. It's a memo of understanding, this notion that we're laying the foundation. Fair enough. The immediate goal was to end the military strikes and to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. That was a political goal to help bring down the cost of gasoline in this country going into the midterms. So I'm looking forward to what this is going to look like. I don't necessarily trust Iran. I don't think any of us should trust Iran. But we are doing things from a slightly different position than when President Obama was in power. They obviously don't have quite the same military threat as they did before. So we're going into it with a little bit more strength than we have in the past.
Yeah, but we went into it in peacetime. We went into it not having at least 13 American soldiers have to be killed to get it. We went into it not having 168 innocent Iranian schoolgirls killed to get it. We went into it not having our stockpiles depleted in order to get it. We went into it not having billions of dollars of American taxpayer money spent to get it. So I'm trying to figure out where the win is. Even if you say we don't know what it's going to be in 60 days, then why are the sanctions lifted today?
Because they're doing this in good faith to get to a point.
Good faith with the Iranians?
Well, we're acting in good faith. I don't think they're going to act in good faith. But this idea
then why would you do it?
But this idea that there have been no accomplishments whatsoever here is to completely dismiss the work that the military has done in destroying their Air Force, destroying their Navy capabilities. That does matter. That changes the power dynamics in that region.
But hold on.
But what has really changed is the Iranians are stronger.
I don't really understand.
They're definitely not strong.
I don't understand
Absolutely
the logic. I don't
That's
understand
ridiculous.
the logic here.
Absolutely they are.
If we are in a stronger position, why are we negotiating with them on things that they have already conceded in a past era in which there was no military threat on the table?
Two reasons. I think number one, this administration believes that they're able to get to a deal that changes the dynamics with Iran in a place where we can actually trust them. Now, I am highly skeptical of that. But number two, and I think the underlying issue.
You acknowledge that they are not giving anything that they have not given before, correct?
Well, I'm saying they're giving something that they haven't given before.
Which is what?
No, I'm saying they're not.
Okay.
But the context is different in which they're no longer the same threat as they were before.
Okay.
That's
Maybe they're not. Maybe they're no longer the same threat. Maybe yes, we've bombed them significantly, but that would then follow that we would get way more out of them, not way less. So why are we getting the same amount that Obama got, and he didn't have to bomb them for it?
Stop right there, because that may be the most damaging question in this entire debate. If the United States entered these negotiations from a position of overwhelming strength, why does the proposed agreement appear to offer so little that was not already available before the bombing? A stronger position is supposed to produce stronger terms. If it does not, then calling this a victory is not an argument. It is branding.
Yeah, I mean, this is the conservative critique of the MOU. Basically, Iran has reneged on every single treaty it's ever signed, by the way. We're seeing now that Hezbollah is still striking Israel from Lebanon because they weren't included in the negotiations. This could dismantle tomorrow, which would give the United States a convenient out from some of these commitments. Like you said, a lot of conservatives are not comfortable with these concessions. But to draw this blanket comparison between this and the Obama deal, it's just not true because, to Jason's point, the war context, this is a post-war framework. We didn't just negotiate a limited nuclear deal. What we did is all of the...
We didn't negotiate a nuclear deal at all.
Well, no, that's going to come down the road.
Well,
but the JCPOA, it literally put out a commission, facilities with a sunset clause, because as you recall, the JCPOA, 10 to 15 years, that was going to expire.
Okay.
Trump demolished those
that's
facilities.
15 years.
So now that's off the table.
That's 15 years compared to 0 nuclear commitments, just to be clear. That's the actual comparison. But let me just play. This is actually interesting.
Watching these two guys try to turn themselves into pretzels to justify
to be fair,
this,
I mean, neither of
it's
them
better than
support
watching
the
the World Cup.
MOU. To be fair, neither of them support the MOU, so that's probably why this is
and he's right.
ridiculous.
The missile stockpiles gone.
But
Obama
the missile
refused
stockpiles
to
are not
negotiate. They are mostly gone.
We've made them a strong country from really a very weak country.
And we took the sanctions off. We got nothing for that.
We've rewarded the world's leading state sponsor of terror with $150 billion, and we received absolutely nothing in return.
It's a one-sided transaction where we're giving back $150 billion to a terrorist state, really the #1 terrorist state.
I would have made a deal not from desperation. I would have doubled and tripled up the sanctions, and I would have made a much better deal.
The conservative position is never going to be able to outrun the reason the deal was torn up in the first place. It's because of inherent jealousy of Barack Obama, since the president is insecure. And he did something that actually moved all of this backwards because of his own level of insecurity and hatred of the president that was before him. And that is... We are never going to be able to. We're never going to be able to get up under that.
But I think a lot of the criticism right now against Donald Trump is driven by the fact that the critics hate him as well, and so they're unwilling to look at this.
There's plenty of Republicans who have been very supportive of Trump, including people like, for example, Senator Roger Wicker, who is half dead, and he woke up from his coma to say this deal sucks. I mean, have you seen him lately? People like Lindsey Graham.
All right.
There is nothing that Donald Trump does that Lindsey Graham doesn't like, and he's been critical of this. People in the in the right-wing blogosphere who have been very supportive, and I admire that. I admire that they are standing on principle and calling a spade a spade. I mean, not only are we giving them exponentially more money, not only are we lifting sanctions, but now Iran knows that they can close the Strait of Hormuz and bring us.
Iran also knows that we can strike them militarily, which the Obama administration was unwilling to do.
We did strike them militarily.
And we could continue.
You know what they know? They know that they can survive it.
Correct.
Look at you.
And that is the part nobody should casually move past. Military strikes were supposed to remove Iran's leverage. But if Iran can disrupt one of the world's most important oil routes, survive the retaliation, and then return to negotiations with sanctions relief on the table, it may have learned the opposite lesson. It may have learned that creating a global crisis gives it bargaining power.
So you're arguing that the economic situation right now in Iran is somehow better than it was.
I'm saying that they can survive.
But the thing is, they're fighting a different war.
That is a
That's the
piece
thing.
of this
We're fighting a different war than they are. They know that the war here is unpopular. They know here the war is unpopular. They know that people here are looking at gas prices. They are willing.
And the elections are 4 months away.
And the elections are 4 months. They know all of these things. Those are huge leverage points for them. So they don't care about their own personal suffering.
I was just going to say, I think it's worth pointing out, all of that understood, that all of these proxies of Iran, the Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas, or Israel and the United States have greatly degraded them. And they were attacking U.S. bases, U.S. soldiers, killing them. We were at war with Iran for a very long time.
When Donald Trump reinstated the sanctions on Iran, he said out of his own mouth he was doing so to deny them the capacity to, what does he say? Deny them the funds they need to advance its bloody agenda, which is basically to fund the very same groups that you just described. Now we're allowing them, we're lifting those sanctions that he reinstated onto them what do you think that money is going to go? What do you think it's going to do?
I think you're correct that if it does end
I'm
up in
always
their
correct.
coffers, in this very limited point, I think if it does
On
go
all
to
the
their
points.
coffers, that, yeah, it's going to fund the world's biggest sponsor of terror, as it has historically. I don't think this MOU is going to stick. I don't think it is.
So then it's.
So then what's going to happen?
The point is to get to the 60 days and actually get something done. You bring up an
They've
important
broken
point
every
in all of this.
single deal.
Wait, hold
A
on. You
lot of
guys
this
are
was
not, just to
driven-
be clear, you guys are not making the same point. She's saying the MOU is not going to last. You're saying that it will, and that
No,
we'll
I'm
get
not
to a
saying
deal?
that.
Okay.
No, I'm saying the point of getting the MOU on the table is so you can start these negotiations. It's really what's going to happen in 60 days. And I think we should judge that harshly
And then what
if it's a bad
happens if
deal.
we
So
don't?
Iran gives up late.
Well, then that's what we figure out. I mean, that's part of the
I mean, I'm
negotiation.
saying what happens, like really, like let's wish cast into the future. What would happen? What is the scenario if we don't get a deal in 60 days?
I could
Are
give
we
a
just going back and
recommendation.
bombing?
What
My
is it?
recommendation,
We might go back
the
to
only
bombing.
way to do this is to crush them.
Okay.
What does crush mean? What does that mean?
okay,
He
I
already
do wanna-
threatened to wipe out their civilization. So what does crush them mean?
No, like if he was withholding military force. Like,
Okay.
frankly,
We're always
if you
withholding
want- if you
because we don't
wanna
want to destroy
really
the world.
end
So
this,
what are you
I'm
saying? What are you
just
saying?
I'm
Crush
not
them?
saying he
What is
will,
it?
and I'm not saying.
This is where television rhetoric collides with reality. Crush them sounds decisive until someone asks what it actually requires. More airstrikes, a blockade, American troops on the ground, regime change. Each answer carries the risk of a larger war and more American casualties. If a commentator cannot define the objective, the cost, or the exit plan, then crush them is not a strategy. It is a slogan with consequences.
What does crush them mean to you?
Well, let her respond.
You respond. You don't have to reference
Hold on,
here.
one at a time.
I want to know what you mean by that.
Iran was dangling the one piece of leverage it had, which was the Strait of Hormuz,
Okay.
because we were letting them do that.
Okay.
What do you think it means if we don't let them do that?
So I'm asking you, what do you mean when you said we should crush them? I want to know
it
what that
means-
means to you.
I'm saying technically it means escalate military force.
And to what?
Yeah,
to what end?
maximum
To what
pressure.
end? To what end? Because we've already destroyed their
but let me-
military. So
let me-
what is to what
if you-
end?
if you
Let me just-
think-
if you
let me
have
just
an
ask you-
investigation.
Let me just ask
If
you
you
this,
think
Caroline,
2 months
because
from an
I don't think
election,
this is
I don't
hypothetical.
think
going to
it
be
will.
the
I don't think-
appetite.
I don't know. I don't think there is
Guys,
an
hold on a
appetite.
second. This is not really a super hypothetical situation. The military said at the beginning of this conflict they had a list of targets. It was, hundreds of targets. They got to nearly the end of that list, and then they stopped bombing. The Strait of Hormuz, the options are we do what we did, which is the blockade, and maybe try to escort ships, or we try to put boots on the ground, take Cargill to secure it. Is that what you're saying we would do?
I'm not recommending that. I'm saying that is the only way to actually end this. Like,
Is
because
to-
the deal
is to
will
do
be.
what?
So you
Is to
recommending-
put boots on the
No,
ground.
I'm saying
to
like
take
there's
Cargill
really no in
Islands?
between. Like
Well,
there really
I
is
need you
no
to
in
get your story
between.
straight
The
because
only-
you first
the
you
other-
did say you were recommending it, and now you're saying you're not. So which one is it?
No, I'm saying if you want to finalize this and basically
Get it
make
out.
it so
Come
that
on, let it come
Iran
on out
is-
your mouth. What?
If you don't want to broker with a terrorist regime anymore, then yes, you have to apply more military
you are
force.
suggesting it.
I just think.
I'm saying that is, if that's what their
Hold on,
calculus is.
listen.
There's also some things there that just don't make any sense to me. To somehow think that because they've written down on a piece of paper something they've promised for decades that they won't build a nuclear weapon, that's foolish at best. There's 3 M's, right?
Mm-hmm.
We now are going to say it's okay for them to have missiles. We're going to allow them to have money. The sanctions relief that we're about to provide them is going to give them billions of dollars, and they'll rebuild many of their programs. And so that's the second M. That's a mistake. And the third one is this idea that somehow there are Iranian moderates. There's no such thing. These are all radical Islamists. And so only time will tell how this agreement will play out.
I think this is fundamentally a very pragmatic deal given the political situation, and you highlighted some of the folks who were critical of it. All of those Republicans who are criticizing it, they either lost their primary, they either are not running for re-election, or they're running in deep
Not Roger
red,
Wicker.
or they are running in deep red states.
Not Roger
So
Wicker and
people
not
who-
Ted Cruz.
Ted Cruz is
He's
also
not up
running.
for re-election this year.
It doesn't. I mean, so what's
My
the
point-
matter?
okay,
Like,
my
I mean,
point, though-
are the
my
people
point,
are the
though, is
only
this is-
people that like who does
My
count?
point, though,
We've eliminated a lot of
my
people.
point,
Okay, you're not even talking about the House at this point.
My point is that this is a pragmatic deal, and a lot of Republicans actually have been thrilled to see this as the outcome.
But how is it
alarmed?
Lydia, you think that
They were
$400 billion
alarmed.
is
Can I
pragmatic?
speak for like more than 2 seconds?
I just want to know how it's pragmatic.
They were alarmed heading into the midterms that
There it is. Behind all the language about strength, security, and historic agreements is a brutally simple political calculation. Gasoline prices before an election. Lower prices matter to millions of families, but that raises an uncomfortable question. Was this agreement designed as a long-term security strategy or as a short-term pressure valve for American voters? Those are not necessarily the same thing.
There were some documents to suggest we would have $7 gas prices. So I think Republicans are glad to see that now gas prices are down below $4 a gallon on average nationally. We're going to see inflation come down. They are glad and relieved to see that Iran is going to be on the back burner and they can focus on domestic issues.
Lydia, how can
and
you say that they're going to be on the
socialist candidates. And so again, there's many Republicans who are glad to have some sort of relief valve because
it's
there
not
was
gonna,
a
it's not going to be on the back burner. This is okay. First of all, this MOU is lasting 60 days. You're getting closer and closer to the midterm elections. If he does not come up with a solution that is better than the JCPOA, there is no way that this is resolved before the midterm elections, and every vulnerable Republican is going to have to deal with this. When it comes to gas prices, first of all, they're potentially opening the strait. The strait was not.
It's open.
And we've heard that. We have heard that.
Are we just going to ignore the $400 billion going to Iran? Like, are we just going to ignore that?
On the strait, we have been told.
That is untrue.
I want to ask you a question. Have we been told several times that the strait will open?
Yes, of course we have.
And has it opened every single time?
I don't know if it's open.
It has not.
I tell you this morning, as of this morning, ILS traffic is showing ships going through the strait.
Why is the strait?
Not Republicans, not Democrats.
Why was the strait closed? Why was the strait closed?
Why was the strait closed?
Why was the strait closed?
Because the Iranians closed it.
Because Donald Trump caused it to be closed. So at the end of the day, we are now at an MOU that is putting us back to where we were at the beginning of this thing, which means the United States hasn't gotten us any.
I think if you ask people living in Iran right now, they would have probably a very different perspective if it's just the way it was before the war started.
The Ayatollah is still there. The regime is still there. The people are still being oppressed. I don't know what you're talking about.
Now
they just have
$400
billion more than what they had
when did
before.
that become a
Mark,
consideration?
I do wonder. I mean, you just brought up the Iranian people. Their lives haven't changed.
Yeah,
for the better. They're still being run by Ayatollahs.
With $400 billion more dollars.
There's nothing in, if you're an Iranian right now.
The money's not going to the regime. It's not going to the regime.
If you're an Iranian right now, what has changed for you? You still have the same structure, government structure that you had before. Now you have that government structure being promised billions of dollars of funds that only helps to reinforce their control over society. What positives are they getting out of it?
Probably not a lot, Abby, but we kind of have to pick a lane, don't we? Right? Either we want to have this humanitarian purpose, which is going to require a more dedicated effort there and higher gas prices. Let's be honest, for the American people, this is about their wallets and what they pay at the pump, and we have no tolerance for it.
But why did you launch
There's no patriotic mission behind this. It's not like World War II. Like, let's go and work and weld airplanes and be part of the war effort and buy war bonds. That doesn't exist anymore. That's part of what President Obama was talking about.
That's a transparent answer because
it's an honest one.
Basically, it is that we don't have the stomach for this, which is what the Iranians knew. And what's interesting, this is the one more from J.D. Vance. He was asked about what's to stop the Iranians from just rebuilding the whole thing that the United States bombed. Here's what he said.
What's stopping them from down the road, to your point, rebuilding and restarting from where we were pre the war?
Well, number one, they would have to get a lot of money in order to rebuild the nuclear program. You're talking about billions and billions of nuclear infrastructure that the United States destroyed. In order for them to rebuild that program, they would have to get a lot of money.
Well, viewer, they are getting a lot of money. They are getting billions and billions of dollars right now, according to this MOU. And they could, to Isaiah's point, get billions and billions more.
That is the contradiction at the center of this entire story. The administration argues that Iran cannot easily rebuild because reconstruction would cost billions. At the same time, the agreement may unlock billions through oil sales and sanctions relief. So the question is not whether Iran needs money to rebuild. Everyone appears to agree that it does. The question is whether this deal helps provide the money needed to rebuild what the United States just spent lives and resources trying to destroy. And that is why this story is bigger than a temporary ceasefire or a drop in gas prices. The real test is what Iran can rebuild, what the United States actually receives in return, and whether the same crisis returns after the cameras have moved on.
Let's take the 300 billion out of it. 100 billion in sanctions relief. A sanctions relief available to them potentially that exceeds anything that we have ever offered this particular regime.
And what's really interesting is that in the MOU, it says that the free passage of the Strait of Hormuz is really only guaranteed for 60 days. So if they begin to start charging tolls for every ship that comes across the strait, that's another revenue stream for the regime.
Well, which they have indicated that they will.
All of this is conditional. It's explicit in the MOU. It's conditional on a deal being reached, on the finer points being
Where
achieved,
in the deal is that listed?
including as it relates to their nuclear program.
Is this the gentleman's agreement that has been somehow tacitly worked out with people who may not be characterized as gentlemen?
I completely agree with that, Scott, and that's part of one of the things that worries me the most about this is even if we had a deal that made everyone happy, Republican and Democrat, everyone at this table, would be one hell of a deal, by the way. What's to say that the Iranians would actually live up to it? This is a part of the world that, unfortunately, for the people that live there, have 1,000+ year history of this kind of conflict, stress, and turmoil. And unfortunately, we got to pick a lane, and the American people have to decide, what do we have the stones for? And right now, what we have the stones for is to fill our cars and go on a 4th of July weekend and pay less than $4 a gallon.
The American people are currently not
$400 billion more.
I think that's about as accurate as we can get here.
And that brings us to the end of today's breakdown. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe to The Progressive Brief, and share your opinion in the comments. Do you see this agreement as a victory or a costly return to where everything started? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.